Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the briefing room, Reputation, Risk and Narrative Signals for the Public Service. This will be approximately a 30-minute webinar where we'll be going through a scenario, quite a topical scenario around inflation. And at the end of it, we'll take some Q&A, obviously, and maybe circulate the video afterwards. So just to get us started, a bit of an introduction as to ourselves and myself as CEO. So my name is James McCann, and I'm the CEO of Everhaze. The platform itself has been under development for quite a number of years. It started off as a tool we used when I was managing director of ClearStory, which was an international PR agency acquired there last July. And I suppose following on from it, we seen there was a significant need in the market for a platform that integrated a lot of the key functionality that PR people expect platforms to have, but also in demonstrating kind of real tangible value that PR professionals can report on and demonstrate the value of their work and so on. So that's really where it came from. Over the years, I've worked with a lot of government and semi-state entities internationally, and so again, want to bring some of that experience home here to Ireland, and again, I suppose that just with respect to the industry, I sit on the AI and PR Advisory Council with PRII. And yeah, look, that's probably a bit just about myself. With respect to Everhaze, then, we have three core products. We have Everhaze Core, which is our media database and press release distribution platform. We have Everhaze Lumen, which is our media monitor and analytics platform. So again, real-time monitoring, multi-channel alerts via email, text or phone call, audience insights, effectively, anything that you would expect from a media monitoring service that can update you in real time around crisis communications, etc. We also then have Luminate, which is our narrative analysis tool. It provides details on geographic breakdown, audience insights, message tracking, and this is really the crux of what we'll be demonstrating today with this scenario. The overall mission that we have here with the platform is to help PR professionals do their job, easier, so we can all get home on time. Instant reporting, quick responses, helping you guys shape narratives in real time. And in order to do that, basically take those three pillars of the products that we have, and we ensure that they're all talking together. And that's the USP. In terms of the scenario we're looking at here, so one of the main topical conversations right now happening in the media is around inflation, obviously with the war in Iran. We are assuming that we are the Office of Inflation Protection, an office that we've obviously made up, and that we're the communications team within that entity. And right now we're tasked with understanding how our message is cutting through with respect to announcements around that, alleviating cost pressures, right? The rising cost of living pressures. So the objective in terms of the scenario here is to really understand what the topics and narratives are that are driving public discourse around inflation, how to assess if our messaging is cutting through. The high volume of coverage obviously makes this quite a tricky thing to do if we were to look at it manually or even across the team. 2,500 mentions in total to digest over the last 4 weeks. So that's a key challenge. And the expected outcome is that we are looking for a clear real-time visibility of public and media reaction, and understanding of those media trends to help us, decide on next steps. So with that, I am going to go straight to the platform. So this is the Everhaze Campaign Manager, where the three products effectively, converge in a snapshot of what's happening. So all of the outbound communications, press releases, journalistic or journalist, media relations side of things are recorded here in terms of your actions, your emails sent. You also have an engagement score here, looking at open rates, click-through rates, etc., replies, and then the corresponding arc of coverage resulting from a lot of that activity over a period. Below, we have all of the various different campaigns that we have happening maybe at any one point. So annual reports, public information campaigns, maybe kind of themed, campaigns as well. Within each of these campaigns, you have your statistics of open rates and click-through rates linked to the activities. tracking and summaries then as well. So all of your content is readily and easily available, historically as well as current. So again, within the dashboard, we have our stats counter, which looks at uh, opportunities that have come through, pending opportunities, coverage that has been logged over a period. It's all interactable, so you can click into any of them to see where things are at. Pending might be alluding to opinion pieces that might be pending. You can obviously go back historically over a period. You have your opportunity manager there centrally, and you also have a coverage book manager where you can see all of the coverage books there for yourselves. So where do we start with a scenario like this? Well, I think first of all, any body would have particular keywords related to their areas of interest lined up. So we've done that in this case, where we've looked at key topics linked to inflation that the Office of Inflation Protection inflation protection will be likely to be tracking. So the likes of energy bills, heating costs, electricity prices, food prices, etc. And you can see that there's been a sharp uptick, we'll say, in terms of overall volume there, starting in February and then into March. We've only taken really a 2-month view on this. So within that, there's two dominant topics, right? So in energy bills and gas prices, you can see the breakdown then in terms of the channels. Then on top of that, some of the maybe kind of medium-term topics would be, say, heating costs and food prices then as well. And if we want to interrogate that just on a topic by topic basis, we can click in. All of the relevant mentions are here, and we can click into maybe kind of the heating costs element here. You'll get your articles, some of the coverage stats here then as well. And again, you're just getting a very high level overview of all of that discourse. Narrative analysis goes beyond the keyword kind of share of voice and channel distribution metrics. Effectively, what we're trying to understand is the nature of what people are saying about a particular topic. So in this case, inflation, how many subtopics might there be in relation to it? What else should we be aware of? And kind of really drilling down into the topic. So with Luminate, you get a significant number of dashboards, up to 5 that you can deploy around key narratives that you want to track. So in this case, we have a running view of the topic of inflation since February. And you can see very clearly that once the war really kicked off, talk of inflation really started to gather pace, and mostly in the negative, as you can well imagine. So we demonstrate this kind of cumulative narrative score, so you can see over time how quickly that might be contributing to overall sentiment on a topic, on a brand, whatever it might be. So at a glance, straight away, two things are noticeable. The initial arc of the negative narrative is obviously around the impact of inflation, but equally there is some positive sentiment here, which is around maybe government measures or other kind of industry commentary, while the topic is still hot, that may be providing some form of silver lining, but overall like it's very weighted to the negative. This entire dashboard is interrogatable. So all of these, every mention is scored and charted sorry, analyzed, scored, and charted. So you can get a very clear view as to articles that might have been largely positive, but weighted on the nature of the outlet, and the negative as well. And our dashboard here to the right, or our filters to the right, really give us the opportunity to interrogate this data a lot more in detail. So first of all, we're looking at the overall clustering of the mentions. So we see Iran there is obviously a relevant topic for obvious reasons. Ireland inflation. We have included an all Ireland sample of coverage here, so it does include local outlets in Northern Ireland and kind of radio as well. Petrol there, which is an emerging topic right now, and certainly top of mind, but certainly not to the same level of volume over the last couple of weeks. I think it's only starting as a trend. So effectively, we want to get to the bones of, based on our mission, uh, what is the dominant topic? Maybe what do we need to do to tackle particular narratives at a local or national level, and how well is our counter narrative, going so far? So energy subsidies, 136 versus, we'll say, energy price rises, 646. So there's a job to be done, obviously, in getting positive circulation of measures out to counteract what is ultimately a sinking story for us. So let's just take a look specifically at the energy price rises. And we can see here that, obviously it's very much in the red on a daily basis, contributing quite a large amount of negative factor sentiment across the board. Um, in understanding, a lot of this, we might, take a channel view. So we might like to see, across maybe print, how the story's been covered, across radio, the digital side, whatever it might be. But equally, we might want to see, okay, well, look, there's some positive stories in there. Like what's being picked up there. So you'll see that, here's one example of a counter narrative: petrol and diesel prices to be slashed with rebate for hauliers. And then this is obviously, I think, more so for the Northern Ireland slant side. But there's, at least one or two stories that are to the positive there. The vast majority are going to be to the negative. Build resilience to protect against energy shocks. There's others there. If we go down to the Farmers Journal, more around the ECB, profit at the ESB. So there's a whole rake load of stories here, just in terms of the negative impact of inflation and energy price rises. Equally, then we might want to have a look at energy subsidies. So, how is the on the negative side? Maybe we're like, so Taoiseach rules out fuel rationing, remote work. So that's obviously not helpful to the narrative side. But then on the positive side, there's a lot of commentary here around, again, the petrol rebates, the supporting packages, and maybe the challenges around it, but also the opportunities. On the farming side, what that's going to look like as well. So there is some here on the positive side, but largely, the reporting is neutral, right? So it's just reporting on the fact that some of this is emerging, and so on. If it's a case where we wanted to look and see on a county by county basis what is happening. So we might take Galway as an example here. So I zoom in on Galway. I can see that there are 17 kind of mentions overall in terms of local radio and press. Growing fears over 20% cap in or cut in cap budget, inflation concerns in Irish agriculture. We have Galway Talks here talking about inflation and targeted rebates. Galway Bay, again, more around the Connacht Tribune, Galway BO. So this gives us a pretty good idea as to where to start in terms of our counter narrative, right? So certainly, house prices still is a recurring topic, but maybe this gives us a hint that additional rebate at 34% now for people to get their groceries on the shelves, whatever it might be. So if we want to get the clip for that, we can go into the clip editor and pull it out from both sides. Equally, within the actual transcript, there should be a clip there for you to be able to play, but this is extending the clip, if you want to download it for whatever reason. So we can get some of this to do a little bit more of a kind of a manual analysis for our own perspective. And sorry, you're probably not seeing that. So there it is there. So again, this is all adjustable. We can kind of pull whatever parts of the clip we want. And as I say, it's you can do a few different components to it, and then you're back to the platform thereafter. If you do want to download the clip, you're literally just going to download, and you get it there. You can also create reports off the back of it, or just add them to any additional list thereafter. Again, you can also create tags, which are quite useful for internal briefings if you're talking people through the actual dashboard itself. But again, this gives us the ability to really kind of dig down deep into the local media environment across all the different channels, and what's been said by whom. So that's kind of one element of the dashboard. Within this as well, we have our message conversion tracker. So we can see this with all of our outbound messaging. So we can see based on the volume of maybe 2,500 mentions, how much of that is being carried. Equally, on the negative side, we can see where we don't want to see particular messages for whatever reason, and we get a sense as to, in terms of the battle of the narrative, where we're winning, where we're not. There's a flow chart that comes with it, so you can see the breakdown in terms of the delivery and then the overall sentiment timeline as part of it. Your audience stats give an idea as to when particular topics are chewing up the news cycle. So this very much highlights that element. We can adjust the viewpoints, so radio can sometimes skew the audience figures just because of the large listenerships. So we can break it down then even further. And then equally, we're getting kind of our demographics in terms of social class, gender, age, all of the different platforms there as well, in terms of where the topic is being covered the most, and then geography, right? So we can really get into the weeds there. So we had a look at Donegal. We can see that digital is, across national and local is really kind of, pressing it. So this can be stripped out. So you can strip it out to just the local media environment or the overlapping national environment. It's weighted based on the size of the population of the county. As well. So like if you've a radio show that might have 400,000 listeners, Donegal accounts for 5% of the population. That's attributed to the figures here. So you get your mentions per head of population on average across the different channels. But again, it's just indicative of the level of market permeation that topic is having. And in this case, it's categorized as dominant. So obviously everybody all over the country is very much aware of the inflation issues now coming down the tracks with respect to the war. So with this, we can make our decisions, right? So with respect to, we'll say Galway, we want to get out a press release, informing, listeners of, say, Galway Bay FM that there's specific target measures that would be of interest to them. So we go to our media lists here. We then go and generate maybe a list for Galway inflation. We don't have to spend too much time putting this together if we need to act quickly, and we do have additional functionality that's going to be coming out on this quite soon for accuracy. So we auto-populate that list, and then we should get our the return on it. 1 second now. Sorry, there might be a connection issue on my side. Just restart that. Sorry now. I'll just refresh the page. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, that's my Wi-Fi, I think. Okay, so back to our media lists. All right, we'll take another stab at that. So let's say Galway inflation. Is it two? So not done up on the name. Here we go, and then I'll populate test. And we have our list there. Okay, so within that, we can see, particular journalists that may or may not be relevant. So we might just kind of remove Alan there, for example. We've quite a few others that might be Western correspondents or kind of directly linked to the outlets themselves. So that's our list ready to rock and roll. We then have our content manager, so we can put together our content. So here's one I prepared earlier, but beat the squeeze campaigns. We have our immediate release here. We can add in whatever images we want. We have our templates for any follow-ups or kind of press release formatting purposes. We have our tags for particular names, and obviously all of our formatting tools and so forth and so on. So we give full kind of editing capabilities here for the platform. So once we're happy enough with that, we're then just onto distribution. So we might go to our local public information campaign dashboard here. We can then compose an email, send maybe a follow-up as part of it. We have our title page there coming from, and this can be set to press at whatever your organization is, or it can be sent via your own personal email addresses. So there is possibility to set up aliases. So we have our preview there. We're happy enough. We have our follow-up. We might have a template there that we use for that maybe. So we can add that. And then we're on to the next stage, which is your scheduling. So we want to send it out now, and then we'll send a follow-up maybe out tomorrow, 2:15. We have our media list manager then. So this can be broken down if you've got a large press team by user and even by campaign. So you can get a sense as to so there's no kind of overlapping of lists. It's very easy to navigate. So we have our journalists here at any stage. We kind of might maybe want to do a bit of review or kind of remove somebody that might not be a fit. We can select that and kind of just remove them. They'll be removed from the distribution list, but not necessarily the media list. So it enables you to move quickly without kind of adjusting your actual press list infrastructure. And then you're on to next. This is just telling you that based on GDPR requirements, they might be muted or blacklisted, and then we are into the actual preview. If I want to customize any emails here, maybe to Caitlin, I've seen her at an event, great to see you at whatever it might be, I can save that, and now I can rinse and repeat. We don't allow like AI for this right now, because we don't obviously want to encourage a form of kind of like AI slop content. So we do retain that ability, and on the right hand side here you can get a sense as to what that journalist does, and there'll be other features here in terms of their relationship with the team, maybe kind of other press releases that have been sent out recently and so on. So we can send that test email directly to our inbox, which then appears here. And we can see kind of what that looks like then in our inbox. And end to end, we have then completed our campaign. So we've assessed the narrative, I've got a deep understanding of it. We've then compiled our messaging, our media targeting lists, and our execution. And it's been 22 minutes. So we're happy enough with that as a track record. So I just see here there's no further questions. I don't think. I know there was some earlier issues with sound, which I think are largely resolved now, I hope. And yeah, look, if there's nothing else, we will send a copy of this recording to everyone who expressed interest. And listen, thanks very much for your time. Much appreciated.